Tonight, more bloodshed in Mexico. Another journalist killed this week.
As we see, that camera person just got
Our
shot.
job is to report the news, not fabricate it. That's the government's
I am
job.
press.
I don't care if you know.
Okay, I'm down.
Right? It's
I'm not going to give
90%
you any
bullshit.
shit. Can you stay counted? You are fake news.
Famous fake news
Is
at
this
this
the
point.
price one needs to pay to speak the truth?
Fake news.
It's always about silencing the
Choice,
target.
but fuck it, I quit.
Hello, hello, hello. How you guys doing tonight? Hi, Debbie. Hi, Debbie Rogers. Nana. Hi, Karen. Hi, Tia. Hi, of course, Linda. Hi, Teresa. Hi, Richard. How you doing tonight? Hopefully everyone's having a great night out there. Of course, if you're not prepared for war, the stuff that came in today, it's just crazy. Let's get going because war is happening. This is going to unfold. Upcoming holidays, you should be prepared for war, honestly. Never interject too much. We got to know what's happening. The truth has to be out there. But let's talk about what's actually going down today. As Congress is, of course, failing to pass aid for Ukraine, it's very likely that it will lead to U.S. troops on the ground in Europe. Many people are unmoved by the briefing, saying they don't think we'll get to that point, but at this point, let's be honest, war is on the table as Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin warned Congress that if lawmakers do not pass aid for Ukraine, that it will lead to troops on the ground in Europe defending NATO allies and other countries Russia may target next, including going into Ukraine. And this is crazy. Crazy, 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 crazy. We're going to end up at war at this point. It's not a question. If Putin takes over Ukraine, he'll get to Moldova. That's not a question. Then maybe the Baltics. How far Putin will go, we don't know at this point. But even entering Ukraine or going through Ukraine, of course, the U.S. would have to put troops on the ground in Ukraine to stop it at this point. And that's just it. The U.S., even if we send aid at this point, troops are going to be on the ground in Ukraine no matter what. Even if U.S. pulls support for Ukraine, we lose all our goodwill with our NATO allies. Of course, whatever. Everybody's pulling aid from Ukraine. But the problem is, there's no winning with Ukraine soldiers in the fighting force they have left. Ukraine doesn't stand a chance. We could throw all the money in the world at Ukraine right now, and the clear objective would be Russia would win. Now, how much additional help does Ukraine need to defeat Russia? Well, an army, a military at this point. And maybe that's what the U.S. was planning. Of course, a lot of people don't know, but somehow Zelensky just became a U.S. resident. Yeah, that might be a little bit surprising, but Zelensky has residency now for the U.S. Little bit of questioning there. Why did he get residency? How did they try to cover this up, and why wasn't it public information? When Zelensky is given residency from the United States, it should have been public. People should have known a president from a foreign nation. Yeah, Biden's biolabs, to be exact. Well, the government has biolabs everywhere. It's not just Biden, let's be honest. But the wartime leader, of course, of Ukraine becoming a U.S. resident is a big, big problem. A big problem. That means that they expect Ukraine to fail and expect to send U.S. soldiers in. At that point, they would pull out the Ukrainian president, and he would be a U.S. citizen. Because his citizenship has already been granted. There's no turning back at this point. It's obvious. The writing is on the wall. Yeah, all the money we're giving him, the 15 houses he's purchased in the United States over the last year, nobody's talking about this. Of course, some places are saying it's fake news. It's not fake news. Let's be honest. I mean, he has over $1.2 billion in overseas accounts, owns 3 different planes, and 15 homes in the U.S. He owns a $35 million home in Florida, here, where I live. It's not a question. We know that he owns that. Now, the other 15 properties, under shell companies, same with the private planes. But we know for sure he is heavily vested here in the United States. And the question is, where is all this aid we're sending there going? Where is it? Of course, Florida Public Records shows no record that Zelensky owns a home in the state, but it's under a financial disclosure that shows that the asset is within a offshore shell company. The house here listed in Florida. I mean, tracking Zelensky's assets is no easy task. There's no evidence to assert that this is truthful information unless you go through the rabbit holes and see the shell companies that own the property. And of course, then you find the evidence of the $1.2 billion in offshore accounts and the 15 other homes, private planes, the private property owned in Florida, all by shell corporations that are directly entangled to the Zelensky. So we're watching this happen. We're seeing these massive shells that, of course, they had for the Biden family that were being unfolded day by day. Now knowing that Zelensky has the same thing, at the same time the U.S. wants to put soldiers on the ground. They don't want to lose Ukraine, so they're going to do anything and everything possible. Right now, the U.S. intelligence states that Ukraine cannot win this war even with all the aid we can possibly send them. Another $111 billion is what they're trying to ask for this year. We'll see if that goes through. But even if it does, that's not including our military and what we're going to fund to do it. Yeah, the economy is ridiculous. Drug trade, sex trade, tax dollars given to every government but the U.S., let's be honest. Our money goes to every government throughout the world but helping the U.S. at this point. But watching even Secretary Austin's announcement today to Congress, or trying to get them to give foreign aid or more aid to Ukraine to stop U.S. soldiers from going in. At the same time, I was listening to that, he states that Ukraine doesn't have the manpower to fight the war. So what does that mean? That means U.S. soldiers are going in anyways. At some point, we are going to see boots on the ground. I hate to say this, and it's not just going to be there. as conditions are worsening in the Gaza Strip, as of course, as the truce end in the Gaza Strip today, the amidst damage has intensified its pace on Gaza strikes, and it's worse than before. Several days without bombardments, Palestinians, of course, in the Gaza Strip woke up to a familiar sound of airstrikes in the early morning. The war is back. It's not a question at this point. Everyone woke up to sounds of gunfire, ship fire, tank fire, firing from everywhere, and continuous and strong. People that have already fled their homes back months ago, of course, now orders of Israel to evacuate the northern Gaza, now being told to evacuate southern Gaza cities as they continue bombardments. Leaving new evacuations, of course, are leaving thousands to face another dispelment and desperate search for safety. The roads leading south to Rafah, which is the border city with Egypt, are clogged. Cars, donkeys, carts packed with people, their meager possessions at this point, can't go anywhere. But yet, they're being bombed. Yes, the caravan of people is being bombed. We know at least 16,000 people have been killed. Over 42,000 people have been injured. We're talking citizens. We're not talking Hamas here. In Gaza, they are flooding the tunnels. They're filling them with water as we speak, which is crazy. I'm not trying to take sides with either side. We have no idea what's true, but the bombardments that have been happening are, of course, coming in from the UN. This isn't the citizens talking about this. This is the UN aid workers that were sent into Gaza to set up these tent cities, watching this unfold. As the IDF moves forward with continued ground operations in southern Gaza, what Israel's Rear Admiral defines as a new phase in the war against Hamas, Palestinians, there's nowhere to go for safety. Some 1.9 million people currently displaced and moving across the strip, being pushed across the strip at this point by UN. I trust the UN more than I trust the people, Hamas and the Gaza people in Gaza. But even Israel's admitting to these numbers. So it's tragic, the loss of civilian life. Nobody likes to see it. But as this all, of course, is unfolding, the U.S., of course, opposing visa bans on Israel's settlers who attacked Palestinians. Right, the U.S. State Department on Tuesday announced its plan to impose sanctions on several dozen Israeli settlers believed to be involved in attacks against Palestinians, banning them from traveling to the U.S. This is only the first step of the escalation of what's happening. We've been seeing attacks from both sides. Our government is now stepping in. They're funding Israel. Meanwhile, they're blocking Israel's settlers from coming into the United States with visas or passports at this point. This is crazy. A travel ban on several dozen Palestinians who were believed to be involved against attacks on Israel were also placed. This is crazy. Both sides. The administration is playing a game of tit for tat with both sides. We're funding Iran. Meanwhile, Iran is hacking us. And it's getting worse. And we talk about Ukraine and we talk about what's happening there. Russia's ordered to conquer Avdiivka before Putin's annual phone-in show. So that's right. Russia is mobilizing soldiers that so soldiers will be able to throw or overthrow Avdiivka and attempts to capture the city before, of course, the dictator's yearly Q&A on December 14th. So we're expecting a massive troop movement, probably 150,000 troops in Ukraine to be moving, or Russian troops in Ukraine to be moving on, of course, these Ukrainian forces that are already encircled. At this point, if they don't surrender, they will be entrenched, basically buried alive. Our government's definitely setting this up because they're involved in every aspect of this on both sides. The United States, of course, is trying to ramp up tensions with China as we speak. As U.S. warships present in the disputed territory are going into definite China territory, not disputed China territory. This is very big. American ships illegally intruding on waters near the second Thomas Shoal. Yes, there is contention between China and the Philippines on this site, but this is not international waters. We know that. This area is not international waters. None of it is, period. Point blank. Watching the U.S., of course, send in ships to push between the escalations. And tensions are escalating very drastically here. And watching, of course, the U.S. plans to, of course, use the maritime strike version to deter China from potentially attacking Taiwan. It's just a joke at this point. It literally is. It is ridiculous. Watching a lot of Navy ships, of course, the Tomahawk division of the U.S. Navy is said the missiles will include new guidance systems enabling a new mobile sea target. They're heading towards Taiwan as Navy forces, or Chinese Navy forces are tracking, of course, U.S. ships all around the area. All this agitating the Chinese even more watching this. And we call it routine operations in international waters. That's what we call it. We know that we are pushing the boundaries of every single one of these places. China is talking about sanctioning the United States at this point. That's how far we have come. Meanwhile, here in the U.S., we can't even keep track of our own people. Menendez home today found gold bars tied to a 2013 armed robbery. Four gold bars in Menendez's possession have serial numbers corresponding to bars reported stolen and later returned to one of Menendez's indicated co-defendants. So they were reported stolen, but yet they were his friend's gold bars that were stolen, magically appearing in his possession. This is a congressman. This is how bad we have gotten. This is how bad America has gone at this point. We have fallen so far that our leading politicians in our country that we have elected are so corrupt that they have stolen goods and seizing, or basically insurance scams up the you know what. I don't even want to use a profanity. All this unfolding. All of it. Nobody's doing anything about it. Nobody's trying to change this narrative at this point. The news just isn't covering it. They're just not talking about the problems. Let's just not talk about it, and the American citizens won't know. Yeah. Gold bars, of course, that his friend, one of his business partners, reported stolen back in 2013, found in his possession. Insurance has already paid it out. This is something much bigger. Something much bigger is happening. Where they thought they could get away with all this for so long. We're just barely scratching the surface now as what's unfolding and what people are seeing happen. And I hate to see the day when the card house comes crumbling down, but it's crumbling. We see more subpoenas being issued for the Biden family and more records being requested. As we know, funds were directly transferred from one to the other. Now, Special Counsel David Weiss is being subpoenaed. It's crazy. Something big is about to happen. I think these finding out of like this gold bars found within Weiss's house, or not Weiss's house, but Benitez's house. I think this is just a distraction. I think there's something much bigger in the background that they don't want us to know that's going to be coming out soon. Like the whole Ukraine situation where the U.S. is planning on sending troops in no matter what, and they're trying to, of course, say, oh, well, we're not going to send troops into Ukraine, but we're going to have to fight for Europe. It's going to Ukraine. We're going in Ukraine at some point at this stage. Even aid that has passed will very likely not help enough to stop us from sending U.S. troops on the ground into Ukraine to stop the war from hitting NATO, which is the same thing as joining the war, which is NATO alliances will be joining as well. It's just a big ploy to get us to fight. So be ready. It's coming. I know it's kind of short tonight, but not a lot happening other than that today. God bless you guys. Hope you guys are having a better day than me. I took a nap and I've been feeling like garbage ever since. But God bless you guys. God bless America. And of course, thank you for everybody that has supported us and supported families in needs. Definitely appreciate it. Today is the last day you guys will be able to purchase any gifts because they have to leave here by the 15th, so they all have to be received. But God bless you guys. God bless America. And thank you for everything you guys do. Thank you for being here with us. We'll see you tomorrow night. Till then, be safe, be sound, and God bless America. Good night.